Hey guys, this is Jabroni, and today I want to talk about how to beat this style of common internet base. And so when I looked at this base, the one thing I noticed right away were these open wall features where you have a path going that way and that way, almost like it makes an X or two sideways V's. And so bowlers, Yetis, and P.E.K.K.A.s, even though they're really popular right now at Town Hall 13, I could not figure out a way of how I could get the bowlers and P.E.K.K.A.s or Yetis to go in a predictable path. I mean, if I came in through here to get the Town Hall, and say I brought a Quake maybe around here, how can I predict where my bowlers and Yetis and P.E.K.K.A.s are going to go? I mean, some of them might go this way. Some of them might go this way and walk around. Some of them might come over around here and walk around. It's just way too unpredictable. And so with all bases, you have to have a predictable path for your troops. And so obviously I want the Town Hall down. You got to get that down, especially in CWL, where your attack strategy, even though sometimes you can take some risk, you got to be conservative enough to make sure you get that Town Hall. But you also got to get the Eagle down if you want to have a chance of 3 stars. And then the unique thing about this space is that you have these 2 square compartments that have the single target infernos inside. And so how do I get to those infernos along with getting to the Town Hall and getting to the Eagle? And so, again, Yetis, P.E.K.K.A.s, I just couldn't figure out a way of how I could predict their pathing. And with the single target infernos, that was another reason why the P.E.K.K.A.s and Yeti just did not seem like a great choice. So immediately I'm thinking miners, possibly hogs. And that's what I ended up going with. And the other thing I chose was a Yeti Blimp, because I thought to myself, well, I could maybe bring the Queen from somewhere around here, and due to this open wall, I could possibly force her to come in this way to then get the Eagle. And I thought that could maybe be great. But that single target Inferno obviously is going to be a problem in this square compartment over here. So here's what I discovered. I could use a Yeti Blimp to come in right here into that square compartment and take down that Inferno and everything else inside. And that would also allow me to lure out the clan castle, which radius went something like this, if I remember correctly. And so, again, the Yeti Blimp coming into that compartment where that single target Inferno was located would not only take down that single target Inferno, but also lure out the clan castle troops, which then I could use with a poison spell and then also my Queen to eliminate that clan castle. But how can I prevent my Queen from walking up to the north? Well, I figured out that I could use a baby dragon to take out these buildings here, also a baby dragon to take out these buildings to help to force my Queen to walk towards the Eagle, and then my Barb King. This is really getting messy here on this drawing. My Barb King I could deploy up here to take out these buildings, and then you might have noticed that there's the Royal Champion. Barb King could take that out, and if all things go well, the Barb King could also take out the enemy Barb King. My Queen would have to eliminate the enemy Queen. So once that section of the base was taken out, if you think about what all the Queen and Barb King and the Yeti Blimp are going to take out, they're going to take out all this stuff here and eventually this stuff here. So what does that allow? That allows for a predictable path for my miners or hogs to pass through to get the Town Hall and then continue on their way to eventually take out the entire base. And so why did I decide to choose miners with hogs instead of just mass hogs? Well, I want to make sure that this Town Hall gets activated. Yes, I could use a Quake spell, but using a Quake spell then prevents me from bringing like an extra rage or an extra heal spell. And normally with these attacks, I want to make sure I have enough heal spells and rage spells. And so Also, not knowing if the enemy king would go down for my king, I also just felt that for those two reasons, having miners with hogs as a combination, a hybrid attack, that was going to be a better choice than doing mass hogs. And so the last thing I had to plan was my spells. I knew that I needed to use a rage spell for the Yeti Blimp right there at that compartment to take down the single target Inferno and the enemy clan castle troops, even though the enemy clan castle troops might survive through that and my queen would have to take it down. I also realized my queen would need a rage spell that I would deploy somewhere around here to allow my queen to take down the enemy queen. So that'd be 2 rage spells. I needed a heal spell in this area here to prevent my miners and hogs from being destroyed from that double bomb tower and possible giant bombs, most likely Tessas in this area here, but I couldn't guarantee that. So a heal spell made sense there. And I figured out that I could use my Warden's ability and a rage spell in this area because there's no splash defense there near the town hall. It's all point defense. And so I figured a rage spell along with the Grand Warden's ability would get my miners and hogs through that area. And that leaves me one more heal spell that I would, just use wherever I needed, maybe somewhere around here. The last thing I decided on bringing was 2 freeze spells, guys with scatter shots. You got to plan for them. I wasn't sure if my queen would be able to take out this scatter shot here. So a freeze spell made sense, and then another freeze spell for the scatter shot down there. So that was pretty much the general idea of my plan. All right, so as I mentioned before, Yeti Blimp coming into this compartment up here. I always use a test balloon or 2 to prevent a black seeking air mine from destroying my blimp. Rage comes down and use another test balloon up there along with the baby drag, and then over here on the left another test balloon and the baby drag to create that little part of the funnel for my queen. I started to notice that my blimp the troops from my blimp were starting to take out the enemy clan castle, and I figured right away, I could use the poison now and start bringing my Barb King and my queen. What I didn't realize is that my king would beat through the wall that was already getting beat through from the Valkyrie and the Yetis, and would start taking out the enemy clan castle troops. One thing I want to pause and point out here, and this is something I didn't think of till later. One thing I always recommend when you make a plan, step away from it, come back and rethink through your plan, go through each step and ask yourself, am I missing something? One thing I realized is that I needed to delay the healers. And so if you were watching the attack here with the Yetis from the blimp and then the queen and the king, I purposely waited before I put my healers down because I didn't want them to travel over and ignore my queen, which wasn't getting hit by any defenses yet, and go over to the Yetis or possibly the Barb King. Because if your healers travel and go to troops that you don't want them to go to, that can completely ruin a Queen Charge hybrid attack. So I waited until this cannon started shooting at my queen, and that's when I put my healers down to make sure that the healers stayed with the queen. So as I mentioned before with the plan, the Barb King comes over and starts to do its job. My baby dragon actually helped with the enemy clan castle troops. I don't know if you guys noticed that yet. The rage spell was used a little bit early for my queen, and I did that on purpose so that way it would have enough juice to get through the enemy queen. Miners and hogs are brought over here towards the town hall. Rage spell, Warden's ability allows me to get through that town hall. You can see there is definitely a Tesla farm here. I absolutely are going to need a heal spell to get through the bomb tower, the Tesla farm. The one scatter shot started shooting at it. My queen did take down the one scatter shot, so at this point I realized I could use both freezes on the scatter shot at the south compartment. And then from here, I knew I had a heal spell to go. Even though my queen died, it didn't matter. There wasn't that many defenses left to go. So the heal spell was put down, and the hogs and the miners and my royal champion are just blowing through this stuff. You can see I haven't even used the royal champion's ability. And this base is just destroyed. The one thing that I didn't realize was that this army camp way up here never got taken down by my Barb King somehow. I should have used a minion up there to start cleaning that up, because I did bring a minion and a wizard for cleanup. Didn't really need them that much, but yeah, I guess I could have used one of them up there. So 3 stars, this worked out very well. And so I actually saw this base on the last round of CWL. But you might notice that this style had a couple cannons up here and had the enemy queen located over here on the left. So do I do the exact same plan or do I tweak it? Well, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. You got to tweak the plan if there are some noticeable differences with the design of the base. The one thing I did change is that I placed my Barb King a little bit higher on the map, and I used him along with an ice golem and 1 wizard, so that way they would take out the cannons and start to work their way towards the enemy queen. This time my queen would not necessarily need the rage to take out the enemy queen. And I did notice over here near the town hall there was this bomb tower and wizard tower, and so I figured I would need to actually use a heal spell early because of that wizard tower and bomb tower to keep my hogs and miners alive, then use a rage spell to get through the town hall here and the warden's ability. Then I would have another heal spell that I could use wherever I felt that I needed it. And obviously, again, I had freeze spells. Maybe I would need to use a freeze spell on this scatter shot. If my queen didn't take out the other scatter shot down there, then maybe I would have to use the second freeze spell there. And like I already said, I do have a second heal spell and another rage spell, and so I could use that wherever I needed. And so here we go. Second time around hitting this base with the plan slightly tweaked like I mentioned before. Baby Dragon comes down. For some reason I actually deployed them before the Blimp, unlike last time. I don't really know if the order of that mattered. But here comes the Blimp with the test balloon, rage spell. The buildings were a little bit further apart, so unlike last time where the Blimp itself took out 3 buildings from the crash damage, it took a little bit longer to get through it this time. There were 3 witches in the clan castle, so I did use my poison spell right away. I brought my king up north. Eventually I deploy my queen. Some point, yep, there she is. I didn't have to delay the healers this time. The Yetis were already gone. The king was way far away from where the queen was going, so I didn't have to delay my healers at this point. One of those witches did survive through the poison, so my queen had to take it down, but no issue, that worked. My king got the enemy queen, and so at this point, miners, hogs coming down with the warden and the royal champion. Heal spell needs to be used early, especially because the eagle was pounding on those troops. So definitely that was a good call to have that rage spell, heal spell. Then the rage spell comes down with the Grand Warden's ability. I use a freeze on that scatter shot. I didn't realize it was low health. When you're doing an attack, so many things are happening at once. Sometimes you don't realize that, in this case, the scatter shot was almost dead. So at this moment, you'll see I'm about to use the freeze again, and it was already taken down. So that was a waste of a freeze. I should have used the second freeze down here. I do end up losing like 3 hogs, or maybe 4 hogs. My heal spell over here could have been placed a little bit better, so that cost me a couple more hogs. That spring trap cost me 3 hogs. So this was not as dominating as the first time around. I only have 1 hog remaining, but I used my rage spell again to keep my queen alive with the healers, and since she wasn't engaging the enemy queen, and the way that everything else worked out with, I think one of the expos was at a different place, my queen survives this time. So even though I didn't have as many hogs surviving, my queen survived. So either way, this base was destroyed. Once again, there's some building that gets left over way up here towards the north. This time it was a storage. How that got missed from my miners the first time around, I don't know. But there was no issue with time. This base was smashed. I hope this was helpful, guys. Until next time, we'll see you.